For the end of TikTok, let's do a speed round of the books by the couch that I read, and maybe the stack on the table if we have time. Hopefully they won't fall over. Thanks to Uncle Buck, I found a copy of The Secret Teachings of Manly P. Hall. This is an amazing introduction to all the pieces of the history of occultism. And so I feel really lucky to have this book. I've been slowly going through it. This is my annotated Arabian Nights. This was translated by Yasmin Seal. This is the best book I've ever found. This is all of the stories, as well as some new ones that were found, like more 19th century versions, and her translations are wonderful, and the introductory notes by Horta are awesome. So if I would get any Arabian Nights, I would get this one. Of course, it's always fun to have a bunch of illustrated editions, but as far as like annotated, that's my favorite. This is Message in a Bottle. Actually, in fact, I told you about this one. This is Kriegstein, who was an early innovator in comics, and he has one about the discovering of a Nazi that is really powerful. So this is just a bunch of his earliest work put together, along with a capsule biography. If you know me, you know I love that. This is Albert Mackey's A Lexicon of Freemasonry. And so I've just been reading through this. My grandfather's a Mason. I think the Masonry history is important. And so this is supposed to be the best collection like this. And so I've just been going through it slowly over the years. This is The Organism by Kurt Goldstein. I actually haven't started this one. But I love these giant explanatory books that just like set the tone for an entire area of science. What is an organism? Oliver Sacks wrote the foreword to this one, and this was a trailblazing book. The one that I do love, and I talk about all the time on here, is On Growth and Form, the Complete Revised Edition by Darcy Wentworth Thompson. That phrase used to make my second born just crack up. So it became a family phrase. But this is such a great look that he wrote. He wrote the first edition during World War I and the second edition during World War II. Such a sad book, he said, to work on. But it's about how growth and form happens in science. And it's just, he looks at all these different animals and brings it all together. Such a high-level thinker. It's a giant. I'm still working on it. So there's some supernormal books here. This is Seeing Fairies by Johnson. This is, there was a fairy investigation society that just collected people's reports. And so, it's not scientifically rigorous. It's what a bunch of people said happened. And as someone who believes stories, this is a fascinating series of accounts on fairy sightings from fairly modern times, like before the 50s. Then the probably single best first book you could read on UFOs and entities is Passport to Magonia, From Folklore to Flying Saucers by Jacques Vallée. And it's about how the early, mythical humans of the early religious traditions morphed into the fairy lore, morphed into the UFOs. It's great. Then the Seven Mysteries of Life by Guy Murchie. This is one of those amazing science / mystical philosophy books. I really like this one so far. This is a Essential Writings of Christian Mysticism. I don't normally go for essential writing books, but there's so many Christian mystics, this seems like a really good way to get an overview. You can tell these haven't been touched in quite a long time. And finally, the one that I do touch the most is this beautiful edition of Don Quixote. And because I looked all over for who the best translator would be, and I finally decided on Ormsby. And so his annotations for this seemed like a really great way to get to know it. So that's already 4 minutes long, so we'll stop there and do the stack later.